probably click the send live, start now.
Sure.
There's a start button. Hi, welcome everyone. We're just going to wait a couple more minutes to have more people join. Just a couple more minutes. We'll start at 3 past. Right, I think we can get started. So, thank you for joining us today. Welcome to the Azure OpenAI webinar for the retail and consumer goods industry. So we will be discussing the benefits of OpenAI on Azure and how it can help your organization do more with less. So just to quickly go over agenda, we'll be starting with an overview of our partnership with OpenAI to get an understanding of how generative AI is transforming our Azure AI capabilities. We'll next briefly jump into some examples of how this technology will be affecting our entire Microsoft product portfolio. Afterwards, our industry lead, Alex Montgomery, will go over some RCG-specific use cases and the value OpenAI brings to the industry, along with our partner offerings in this industry as well. Our Azure Data and AI specialists, my colleagues Dan and Anu, will cover some current projects that we're seeing with current customers to give you an idea of what generative AI looks like in practice. And finally, we'll cover the topic of responsible AI and why we believe it's important that we work together with you to ensure that AI deployments are ethical and benefit your organization and your customers. So before we kick off, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask them in the chat, and we'll have a dedicated session towards the end to answer them. So I'd like to introduce to those on the call who may be unfamiliar with OpenAI and generative AI in general by taking you through a story. The evolution of AI. So once upon a time, AI was the dream of making machines that can think and act like humans. The first step was in 1956, when researchers started a new field of study on how to make computers do intelligent tasks. The first step was in 1997, when a machine beat the human champion in chess. That machine learned from its own mistakes and improved over time. The third step was in 2017, when a machine beat the human champion in Go. That machine learned from millions of examples and discovered new strategies all by itself. The fourth step is now, when machines can generate new content such as text, images, music, and code. The machines create novel and realistic outputs based on some input or goal. So essentially, machines are now creating new data from existing data. What do you think will happen next? So that text that I just read out to you was generated by Microsoft Bing Chat, which is essentially our Chat GPT powered by Bing on the web. And it's powered by the latest model, GPT-4. So if that didn't give you an understanding of what generative AI can do, let me tell you how these images that you see on the slide were all generated by AI using DALL-E 2 and text prompts, such as the first one, the inception of artificial intelligence in 1956, or the second one, AI using machine learning to make predictions in the style of a cubist art style. The last one is my favorite one around, I asked DALL-E to generate abstract generative AI, so an abstract vision of itself. And here's a tip for you. If you see that icon that I just pointed out at the bottom of the image, it's been generated by AI. So I'd like to go over a bit more about the Microsoft and OpenAI partnership and how we collaborate. So Microsoft has formed a partnership with OpenAI, who you probably heard of it already, but they're a leading research company within the space of generative AI, and their goal is to make AGI that benefits humanity. And our partnership is in place to collaborate on the development of artificial intelligence technologies. Our partnership is also here to help accelerate the development and advanced AI systems and bring the benefits of these AI systems to people like yourselves. So as part of our partnership, we've agreed to work together on key areas, including developing AI technologies, building an AI computing platform, advancing AI research together, and making AI more accessible to the likes of you. So when we talk about OpenAI and its capabilities, we talk about 4 key areas. I'll start with GPT-3, which is a large language model that allows you to generate and understand text. GPT-4 is now available in preview mode. You've probably seen this. And this model is even more capable than GPT-3 and enables multimodal use cases. In terms of codecs, that's allowing coders to generate and understand new lines of code. So your developers will absolutely love that one. In terms of ChatGPT, you've most likely heard of it, and that's probably why you're on this call as well. And that's a human-like conversational experience powered by GPT 3.5, which is a model specifically designed for that conversational piece. DALL-E allows you to generate images from a single prompt, exactly the way I did for those 4 images I showed you previously. One question I often hear with my customers is, what's the difference between using ChatGPT on OpenAI's website compared to using it on Azure? Well, that's where I bring this key identity of value that OpenAI service on Azure and how that comes into play. So Azure OpenAI service has 4 key pillars that makes it incredibly beneficial to organizations like yourselves. That comes with unlocking new use cases through the power of generative AI, tailoring those models to your exact needs, applying AI responsibly, and accessing those enterprise-grade security features that you get with Azure. So let me explain a bit more. The OpenAI service provides a number of features, including a wide range of pre-trained AI models, like I just showed before, tools for fine-tuning those models or embedding your data within those, APIs for interacting with the models so that it provides a consistent API for interacting with models, which makes it easier for developers to integrate the models into your applications. When we talk about scalability and reliability, that also extends to OpenAI service. So the service is built on Azure, which means that it can scale and handle large amounts of data and traffic and is available and reliable at all times. And finally, a really important piece around security and compliance. The service is designed to meet a wide range of security and compliance requirements through our Azure security features that you're probably familiar with. So here I'd like to highlight the fact that OpenAI is not a standalone solution. On the contrary, it seamlessly integrates within our entire Azure AI stack. So you're essentially getting the benefit of adding an incredibly powerful generative AI capability to your AI deployments or your other applications where generative AI can empower you to achieve more. Now, we've seen what OpenAI capabilities look like on our Azure cloud platform. Azure, however, is not the only destination where OpenAI capabilities are going to be coming to. Our vision is for OpenAI to be implemented across our Azure stack. So we're providing generative AI to help us to bring our mission to life, to empower everyone on the planet to achieve more. And already we've integrated OpenAI capabilities into Teams, Viva Insights, Power BI, D365 Supply Chain, and even Bing. And you've probably noticed that I've left out that most notable one that you've probably heard about through recent announcements around Microsoft 365 CoPilot. So we see this as a feature which will fundamentally change the way we work. So let's see how the future of work is going to look like through this video. So CoPilot integration within Microsoft 365 gives us a tangible example of how generative AI will play a massive role in reshaping the way we work in general. So think about how it's going to allow us to be more creative in Word, more analytical in Excel, more expressive in PowerPoint, more productive in Outlook, and more collaborative in Teams. And if you haven't tried it out yet, Bing Chat is our ChatGPT-like experience powered by GPT-4. So ChatGPT is trained on a data set from 2021, while Bing Chat takes that model and feeds it from information from across the internet to give you better search results, to complete your answers like never before, and generate the creative spark to give you that inspiration that you might need. And that's all integrated within a new Edge experience. So now that we have had a better understanding of what generative AI is in general, our partnership between Microsoft and OpenAI, and what that means on Azure, and what that means as well across our entire product portfolio, I'd like to take the next step of understanding the value this will bring to the retail consumer goods industry. Alex, over to you.
Thanks, Dank. There we go. So pleasure to be with you this morning. So my name's Monty. I'm the Director of Retail Consumer Goods Industry in the UK. It's a super exciting time with some amazing progression around the technology that Tank has spoken about. And I'd like to sort of stimulate your ideas and thoughts around how you might be able to use some of the technology that we've touched on there. Just before I delve into industry specifics, however, it might just be worth bringing a little bit of a horizontal perspective. So these are real world cross-industry use cases that we're starting to see emerge as trends, I would say, as common patterns that organizations are looking to leverage generative AI and the Azure OpenAI service for. So first and foremost, contact center and customer support is a big area where thinking about high volume touch points with consumers, organizations are looking to summarize the transcripts of calls to understand topics that are popping up through customer engagement. They can use the tool to do sentiment analysis and really start to capture and output actions and feed that into planning and understanding of trends. But at a practical level, what it also means is that they're saving a lot of post-call write-up time, which previously agents would have to spend, several minutes per call, perhaps typing up notes, extracting key information from that transcript and having to sort of input it perhaps into multiple systems. I think generative AI gives a great opportunity to streamline those processes and really save a huge amount of agent time, drive productivity and efficiency. Tank spoke about sort of search and I think ChatGPT capability. So the ability to actually understand and summarize information, particularly when you're running it on the Azure OpenAI service on your own tenant and you're able to train those models against your own information. It gives you the ability to provide a really, really rich interface to understand knowledge from within your organization. Code generation, Codex was mentioned just a few moments ago. So putting this capability into the hands of your developers or your partners' hands to be able to accelerate the delivery of application development and application enhancement, essentially. So really, really great focus on productivity again in an area where, frankly, a lot of organizations are struggling to capitalize on a wealth of developer resource and capacity. There are simply not enough professional developers going around to be able to service all of the demands. So it certainly does help there as well. And then a little bit akin to the search and Q&A, but document intelligence, the ability to extract and summarize complex sets of information from documents, from unstructured information that you hold within your organization. So those are kind of four key themes, and I think it's important just to anchor on those because some of the examples I'll touch on now really build on these, but equally these are themes and topics I think which are a good baseline to start with when you think about your planning and the use cases that you might foresee in your organization or across the industry in general. So if I jump in now, and I've got a number of examples, most of these are based on real life customer examples, using a combination of core OpenAI, the OpenAI service, which Tank touched on, which is built on top of and as reliant on Azure AI infrastructure. And some of them are actually using the Azure OpenAI service as well. So it's a combination of the two. So I work with a number of customers within the industry, and it's fair to say that marketing and brand are extremely excited about the opportunity with generative AI. So first and foremost, creating sort of product listings, product summary data, which is optimized for search engine optimization, is a core example. Now, Shopify here, as the example on the left-hand side, has launched Magic, a capability to support the generation of product listings, really to retrospectively look at millions of products on their platform today which have no descriptions, and therefore it's really difficult for consumers to be able to find them. So the screenshot that you see here is just a simple example of inputting some simple terms that you might want either manually or indeed fed via an API, and then the output at the with a sort of a tone that you want to apply, and then the output from ChatGPT from the OpenAI service to then actually feed into the website metadata so that consumers can find those the correct products that they want using search engine. The second example, the mass personalized product search, if I run a short video there, this is a customer of ours, CarMax. They are a used car reseller and a car reseller. Essentially, they wanted to provide details of the car listings based on customer reviews. Now they have tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of customer reviews coming in for cars that people have bought. Historically, the issue that they had was that they needed to do manual input, manual consumption of those reviews. They needed to feed that in and use time consuming and expensive resources and processes to keep on top of those reviews and constantly update the car ratings and the car listings. Actually, with the OpenAI service running on Azure, they're able to actually automatically consume that information, summarize up the reviews that are coming in from consumers, and constantly update the listings that they have for, in this case, the Kia Sorento, as you can see, but obviously across their estate. That's driving far more accurate, real-time, relevant product descriptions. It's also saving them a considerable amount of time, effort, and cost to be able to have to manually perform those. So a great example of not only summarizing information, but doing it in the context of an industry-specific, a business-specific, a consumer-facing use case and scenario. And we'll see more of those as I flip through. So personalized marketing campaigns. I went back to that concept of the marketing departments being super excited about this. Personalization has been around for a long time, and the ability to sort of define rules in content management platforms or marketing automation platforms to say next best action and based on customer insights and so on. But I think the generative AI revolution that we're seeing at the moment really provides a huge level of additional opportunity around hyper-personalization, because it can respond in real time to the consumer engagement on a site or an application, understand that, contextualize it, summarize information up from other systems, and real time generate responses to that consumer engagement as such. And we'll see a couple of examples through the next slide or two, which is akin to that. Now, I've included links at the bottom of each of these examples, but if we think about the first one, so there's an organization called Stitch Fix, which essentially is using generative AI for engaging ad headlines. Now, ad headlines are often the first interaction that organizations have with their potential clients, so it's crucial to make it really engaging. Traditionally, that would require a copywriter to write new headlines for every new ad asset, which is time consuming, costly, and it also doesn't always result in unique copy because they might be reusing and copying and pasting stuff. Using generative AI and GPT-3, Stitch Fix are actually able to quickly generate a large number of headlines tailored to their brand, tone, and specific messaging. So it's super efficient, super relevant, and it's also able to cross-reference for duplication and so on more effectively than perhaps relying on people to do that. Personalized visual content as well. So, a couple of examples. Zalando is allowing customers to customize the garments that they're actually looking at online, so they can actually input text, and the generative AI service will actually update the imagery of that garment so that people can actually understand what it might look like in real time. And there's another example we'll see later with a partner on this use case. And Coca-Cola is also allowing consumers to personalize images and messaging on their site, and there's a link to their message there as well. So a great way to personalize messaging and visual content as well. Now, the concept of virtual concierge in retail has been around for some time, and actually I'm just going to run that little video on the bottom left there. This is another Shopify example, but essentially we're now in a world where that sort of virtual concierge, that virtual boss, is far more intelligent. And here's an example of a consumer asking for, they're looking to find a warm hoodie. The boss is actually qualifying whether that's male or female garments, and with input it's able to then go across the information and summarize up, and if needed, going back to the previous example, generate imagery to respond to that consumer's question or query essentially. So we are really seeing the concept of bots becoming far more intelligent, far more human-like, far more engaging, and far more specific around the inquiries, the questions, the queries that are coming in from consumers. And I won't run the video on the right-hand side, but also OpenAI has a capability called Whisper API, which essentially is human-level accuracy of speech to text. And we're seeing a lot of organizations thinking about, or in some cases using this capability already to really further augment that consumer engagement and think about not only the human interaction, human accuracy level speech to text, but the multilingual translation capabilities that are actually available as well. And this capability transcends many, many languages. So really powerful tooling to take your consumer engagement to the next level using the OpenAI advances that we're seeing. Moving on to the next one. We have a number of partners in this space already. Actually, Tank mentioned that I was going to touch on some of them. One of these organizations is a company called DeepBrain. And DeepBrain are actually a partner that creates generates video content with human-like AI avatars, as it says there on the screen. So the ability to actually perhaps provide digital engagement with an avatar, either for the purposes of sales, perhaps, or service, or indeed for organizations to embed this kind of avatar-like engagement through an app on a phone or through an app on a mobile device or whatever it might be, sort of thing. So some really great example around not only the sort of the chat interface, but the ability to also represent information generation back out to consumers using an avatar framework and video generation as well. And the natural language processing and understanding that retailers can really use over on the right hand side is really taken to the next level, really, is the point on the right hand side. So I think the short video just demonstrates a very simple example of someone asking about wanting to change something from their last order. You know, a year or so ago, 18 months or so ago, a chatbot would probably have struggled with that unless you had some huge amount of integration to your back office systems to be able to unify that commerce and understand within the bot exactly who that person is, what their last order was, and so on. The idea really now is that the large language models and the developments that have been made enables the context and the summarization to be able to be done much more efficiently and effectively, such that that conversational interface really understands who you are as a consumer and is able to bring information in and query the inquiry far more effectively and efficiently. Last couple of other examples, and hopefully these are kind of resonating and stimulating ideas as to how you could use these, be you sort of in fashion or grocery or consumer, whatever brand or industry that you're aligned to. This is a very simple example. This is apologies for the slight black box as the video loops here. This is a partner called Fashionable. They came up like DeepBrain and like others such as Commerce AI. They came up through the Microsoft Startups for Retail cohort. And Fashionable essentially is enabling fashion brands to embed generative AI onto their website so that consumers, again, can automatically generate or change the look of a piece of apparel based on input. So actually, if you wanted to sort of tweak the design, if you wanted to sort of personalize, if you wanted to do something to make it unique to you, if that's a service that you want to offer, then Fashionable and generative AI definitely gives the opportunity for consumers to, in near real time, really generate what an item, a garment might look like. So another interesting use case, may or may not be relevant, but it demonstrates what people are doing in the market, what people are thinking about when talking about generative AI technologies. And then really last couple of examples, and actually this it is a common use case, and actually I was in preparing for this session this morning, I read something over the weekend actually, which kind of brings this concept together. Bit of a US centric example here, but actually over on the left hand side, what you'll see here is essentially an example of a consumer putting inputs into the new Bing. So I need a recipe for a vegetable lasagna with ingredients I can buy from, in this case they said Kroger, we could say Tesco's, Asda, Sainsbury's, whatever in the case of UK. And essentially it's going to go away and sort of come up with you know, a ChatGPT response where it's basically saying, okay, I found these. It's gone off and looked at the website, various websites, Martha Stewart, in our case, Delia Smith, or whoever it might be. And it's coming back with some example recipes. And the concept of this is that at the end of this recipe input, the consumer can read that and say, okay, that's great, thank you. Can you create me a shopping list, please, for the items across these recipes? And it's going to generate that shopping list for you. And then you can basically take that and take it to the supermarket and buy your stuff. But in actual fact, people are taking that to the next level in the US already, and Instacart is the second example, which I'm not going to run the video only because it's not quite aligned to the story which I'm just telling. But Instacart is now embedded into this. So actually, from Bing, you can say, and Instacart is, sorry, I should explain, is sort of an online grocery shopping environment in the US. Essentially, you can say, create that recipe for me, and actually have Instacart deliver it to my house later today. So you're actually getting that recipe sort of generated for you. You like that recipe, it's creating the shopping list, it's automatically interfacing to Instacart's API, it's placing the order for the products if you say that you wanted to do that, it's debiting your account and it's getting the stuff shipped out to your location, a bit like we would do with sort of Amazon Grocery or Ocado or whoever it might be in the UK. So it's really that convenience, that end-to-end ability to very simply use a Bing interface and actually have it service a consumer demand in a really streamlined, engaging, simple way to the output of getting that stuff with a doorbell ringing at your house later that day, sort of thing. So, it is early days, but people are really thinking about how to bring together these experiences, integrate them to existing providers, and really capitalize on the potential value outcome that can be had from this technology. Now, the examples I've shared so far have been sort of, I would say, quite point solutions, quite thinking about sort of there's a need and we're just going to service that need. It's great for convenience, it's driving efficiency, it's driving a new way of engaging consumers and so on. However, Tank did mention one other piece in where we're investing in our products, and actually one area is dynamic supply chain platform. And I have a short video here to demonstrate how we are thinking above and beyond the sort of the productivity capability that you have in Microsoft 365 CoPilot, to use this technology to really positively impact and make a difference to end-to-end business process. So I'd like to run a short video which just articulates an example of where we are thinking that we could start to use generative AI to really make a difference to mitigate risk, in this case in a supply chain. So I'll run the short video now. Sorry guys, apologies. I don't think the audio is playing, so just give me 1 second. I'm just going to have to reshare to make sure that the audio is included. Apologies. Thank you for making the comments in the Q&A so I could see that. Right, apologies. That was user error, my fault. So I'll start the video again. So thank you.
Dahlia is a supply chain planner at Kraft Heinz Company. One of their biggest challenges is keeping up with demand in the face of unexpected supply chain disruptions. CoPilot in Microsoft Supply Chain Center, which is available to Dynamics 365 supply chain management customers, helps them stay close to their suppliers to ensure they are never out of stock. They can respond quickly in critical situations by identifying costly problems early and swiftly collaborating with partners to maintain healthy inventory levels. Dahlia first uses the AI-driven news module to keep a finger on the pulse of events that impact critical logistics, such as weather, workforce, or geopolitical disruptions. Today, she's presented with an article about a flood in Michigan. She sees this article has been tagged as an immediate risk, and her suppliers, Northwind Traders, Van Arsdale, and Best For You Organics Company, are affected. Dahlia selects Northwind Traders and clicks Contact Partner. She wants to confirm the impact on order dates and quantity, given the flooding in Michigan. She reviews an AI-generated email powered by Microsoft Dynamics 365 CoPilot that already contains all the relevant information referencing the flooding and specific orders in question. She opens the draft directly in her email, sees that the right contact, Mauricio, has automatically been filled in, and sends it off. With CoPilot, Dahlia is able to quickly handle this task in just a few clicks, facilitating a much faster mitigation process. Mauricio from Northwind Traders responds, "The order will be delivered from an alternative Northwind Traders location with a new ETA." With CoPilot in Microsoft Supply Chain Center, Dahlia was able to act swiftly, detecting problems that could have major impact to her business and taking immediate action to mitigate the disruptions without ever leaving her workflow.
So I think that's a really nice example just to bring to life some context around how generative AI can be included in sort of streamlining and improving business processes, and in that case, mitigating risk in supply chain. It's great to see the fact that we are investing around sort of document generation, around productivity for information workers, but it's also super important to make sure that you understand the investments we're making around business processes and really leveraging the opportunity for you to capitalize to improve your business operations. So that really brings me to the end of the examples that I was going to share with you, but I thought I should give the last word really to ChatGPT itself. And actually, this is a screenshot of me asking ChatGPT. I've cut the question off, but the ChatGPT the question I asked the OpenAI ChatGPT bot was, what are the top use cases for generative AI in retail and consumer goods? And you'll know, for those of you that have used this, you'll know that each time you ask the same question, you don't necessarily get exactly the same answer. It will vary because it's the same way that you would ask different people. You would get a slightly different response from different people along the same lines. But what I have summarized or highlighted across the bottom there is probably, I know it's super high level, but I do think it's interesting that, in its own mind, generative AI feels that the potential is there to revolutionize your industries, retail and consumer goods, by providing a more personalized and efficient experience for consumers or customers, but whilst also improving business operations. And hopefully the examples I've shared there bring that to life a little and stimulate some thoughts and some ideas with you as to how you might want to think about using the Azure OpenAI service in your own businesses. So that's all I had to say. So I think I'm going to hand over now. Is it to Dan?
Or indeed, Monty. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. I'm a specialist in our retail and consumer goods team, a data specialist. Can someone just move the slide on one for me, please? Thank you. I'm going to talk to you this morning about generative AI in gaming and what that means, and then I'll cover off why, as retail and consumer goods organisations, what can you learn from the gaming industry? So first and foremost, we're at a kind of pivotal point, I believe, in not just the gaming industry, but the world itself, about the possibilities of utilising this technology to accelerate development, improve on the customer experience, completely change the way that we utilise technology and how AI is augmented into that. From a gaming industry perspective, this really could be a defining moment. What I mean by that is, for those that don't know, for a sort of top level title, something like a FIFA football game, generally to develop that from the ground up would take somewhere between 3 and 5 years. With the use of generative AI and OpenAI in particular, you can accelerate that game development so that it's not taking 3 to 5 years for what is called a AAA title. That could take 18 months to 2 years, significantly reducing that time to market. Some of those use cases, so I'm working with one of our big gaming customers at the moment. I'm going to talk through a few of those use cases. One of the things that they are looking at is probably similar to what Monty covered off from a retail perspective, but a virtual assistant, a game virtual assistant. What does that mean? So that is about making the gameplay experience more immersive and enjoyable, having a sort of assistant alongside you that's providing personalized recommendations, tips and hints based on your unique playing style, your skill level and your preferences as a player. OpenAI or the ChatGPT model particularly, there's ability to learn and adapt to each player's behavior and preferences over time, is going to have a significant impact on player retention and foster longer term loyalty. I'm not sure if any of you on the webinar today are gamers yourself, but if you are, and you can imagine the possibility of that for learning a new title that you're playing, or you're playing a particular game and you're getting stuck at a certain point, and actually you've got an assistant alongside you that can help with getting past that certain part in a level. That's really going to have a massive impact on your experience as a player. Beyond that, another use case I'm working through with the same customer is about game story evolution. So what do we mean by that? That is utilizing the GPT model for dynamic storytelling, something that will then have endless possibilities. So to keep the gameplay experience fresh and exciting, basically you play any time you went and play that game, the world is constantly evolving. You can have a completely different type of experience and storyline through each session, which is pretty significant. Ordinarily, that would take a significant amount of development time to reach a point where you could offer something like that, and that would always be quite contained. Beyond that, gameplay evolution, beyond just the storytelling element, the dynamic challenges and quests based on where you are in the game in that particular moment, the progress that you've made, your skill level, playing style, and rewards that you can achieve. Offering real-time assistance, as I was referring to earlier. I mean, there are games out there that allow you to personalize the game based on choices and behaviors that you make, actually making that more accurate and personalized over time. There's a concept of an NPC in gaming, which is a non-player character. So the characters that you play, making them more intelligent, so they're not just learning and evolving over time, they are acting more human-like with applied logic. So beyond just the gameplay style and the virtual assistants, another particular interesting use case is community moderation. So utilizing the GPT capabilities to moderate game communities and forums. That could be in title or it could be external hosted on a website, to analysing and flagging inappropriate or harmful content, things such like hate speech, harassment, trolling, bullying, things like that in real time, allowing for a more effective moderation process that doesn't need a human intervention until a certain point is reached. Of course, with that being AI, that accuracy is going to improve over time. It's going to gradually learn over time as well, and then proactively intervene in those community discussions, offer resources and supports to individuals that might be struggling with mental health and pick up on some of those markers through their communications. Overall, obviously going to create a safer and more welcoming environment. And I think that's probably an area that from an e-commerce retailer or if you have a external facing website with a community moderation or a contact mechanism for your customers, that's something that you could think about leveraging. In addition to that, I'm not going to talk through all of them. Customer service, digital human. So I think Monty might have touched on this a little bit, but utilizing the GPT model to build out that digital interface to your customers, so they've got the ability to chat to somebody that is a bot that's more human-like in their responses, and can speak to them in natural language, offer them help and support, whether that's product-related questions, FAQs, recommendations for other things, reducing customer frustration and improving satisfaction overall, before that you need to get a human involved from a customer service perspective. There are just two more that I'll cover. One about incident detection and response. So kind of similar to the community moderation, but this time around live operations. So in the gaming sector particularly, if there's an issue with an outage or something wrong with the game, that can be a major scenario that then goes viral. It's across social media, soon then into the newspapers. And actually being able to proactively detect and protect yourself from that kind of thing is quite a high priority. So monitoring things like game logs, the code that's running, social media, other sources and signals of feedback and signs of incidents, such as proactively searching and screening for bugs, glitches, security breaches. The GPT model can then allow for that faster response time over the course of time, provide suggested fixes and resolution to those issues. So before a player is even notified that there is an issue like that happening, it's been fixed and sorted out in the background. And lastly, in combination with a few different models available in the Azure Cognitive Services, is automated art and texture generation. So a multi-base model utilizing the GPT, the DALL-E 2 model as well. But the ability, one of the things that takes such a long time in the gaming industry is the artwork generation. So actually building out of that artwork, the visual design, following the style of the game and the visuals of a particular game and the experience that's being built. The ability to automate part of that, even if it's only in part, will reduce the time to market significantly. So using AI generated artwork, being able to apply the style and theme of the game, seasonality, the color schemes, the possibilities really are endless to be able to extend that and then feed that into the use case I was talking about earlier in terms of that story and gameplay evolution as well. So why am I talking about gaming on a retail and consumer goods call? Well, gaming is obviously part of the wider retail sector and industry. I'm sure that you may work for a business that actually sells into the gaming industry as a reseller, selling whether it's consoles and hardware or game titles specifically. But actually, one of the things that I've spoken about over a number of years is the learnings that you can take from the gaming industry as a retail business. So in customer experience, the retailer that's got a high focus on customer experience. Creating what game companies do really well is create engaging and immersive experience that keep people coming back. Personalized recommendations, loyalty, rewards around that. There's a lot of learnings that can be leveraged. Data is another area. So game studios rely very heavily on data to track behaviors, trends, decisions about game design, incident management, updates, customer personalization, behavioral modeling, customer journeys or player journeys, those kind of things for growth, monetization, pricing, promotions, inventory management. All of those learnings can be taken from the gaming sector and brought into your own businesses if you believe there is an opportunity to improve on that. Live operations is another area. So critical mass in the gaming sector. Everything has to be up all of the time. If there is outages, there's like I said earlier, generally goes viral across social media. Actually, how could you as a retail or consumer goods company use that approach that they take to apply similar techniques to your stores, your supply chain, your websites, and make real-time adjustments based on customer feedback, economic dynamics, and data? I'm conscious that I may well have taken a little bit too much time, so I'm going to wrap that up there and hand over to Anu.
Thank you, Dan. Could we move to the next slide? Who has control? Great, and if you could just help build that up for me, thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Anu Sudhakaran. I'm a data and AI specialist looking after consumer goods customers in Microsoft UK. You've heard of a lot of examples. Customers or people in general connect with consumer goods companies through the brands that these companies have helped created. And we see these companies tap into OpenAI to unlock productivity gains in business processes in every stage of the brand's life cycle, whether it is from category development, product conceptualization, to R&D labs, then to manufacturing in the factories, to marketing, and then supply chain, and finally retailing in the various channels. We are looking at customers. You're hearing from customers how they could tap into business processes efficiencies across the board. And one use case that really jumped out and that we are working on is around consumer voice. Monty spoke about earlier in the CarMax example about how reviews are collated to then make personalized recommendations. But how about if you looked at this reviews it from an inward angle perspective, i.e., you look at not just social listening, but product reviews in various channels, such as review portals in e-commerce, from call centers, collate all this brand specific chatter that is going around, and then inform what is the and be informed about what is the consumer's preference about that particular brand. What is the perception? What do they like? Is it the packaging? Is it the texture? Is it the flavor? And then use that knowledge to be able to then feed into the conceptualization and category development of the next iteration. These processes can often take 3 to 5 years, and to come up with a new category, and it's also quite expensive. So the aim is to reduce that time to develop a new category and be able to be informed by new data points. So this is one particular use case that we see, but it is also touching various stages of the brand cycle. So I spoke about product conceptualization and R&D, but then if you knew this much about that customer, when you couple this data with, let's say, first party, second party, third party data about your consumer, then how personalized can you be in responding to what they have said on these various social media platforms or review platforms to say, oh, we are extremely happy that you like so and so about our product. Thank you for the feedback. Or even respond to adverse events, which are quite critical for, let's say, consumer goods, which have healthcare angle to them, like they are manufacturing such products. It's important for them to stay on, not just if you had healthcare range of products, but it's generally important to also stay on top of adverse events if there is any negative sentiment or mishap that has happened to the consumer because of your product, to stay one step ahead and then get a automated AI response before a human can intervene, because the cost to the brand reputation is way more severe than the liability and the damages due to the damages that has happened. So that is one very relevant use case that we are looking into. I think this also brings the collating these information from various touch points, but also then coupling it with first party, second party, third party data is also bringing consumer goods companies closer to their direct to consumer ambition, and deliver very hyper personalized responses. So this is a use case that we are seeing that can be extendable. That's what I had to say. Besides that, consumer goods industry is no different from any other industries in the horizontals around support functions such as HR, legal, finance, etc., which all have large volumes of documents that need to be summarized. And definitely OpenAI definitely, I'm sorry that I've just recovered from what I suspect is COVID, and I've just come back this morning, so my voice is also not top, but yes. Yeah, so there is a lot of OpenAI play there in those horizontal business functions as well. I think with that, I'm going to hand it back to Tank to talk to you about responsible AI, because in the hands of the wrong players, such powerful technology could often be misused. So we must always be very considerate when wielding such a powerful source of technology. Go ahead, Tank.
Agreed. Thank you, Anu. I'll go over to the next one. So yes, now we're talking about responsible AI. So we've talked about the importance of making AI innovation meaningful, and we've also discussed how the application of that meaningful innovation is going to empower your organization and your customers. So now I'd like to take a step back and think about what are the ethical implications. what it means to define, build, and use AI responsibly. So caution is a key point we have to raise when we talk about deploying generative AI capabilities. So this is ultimately a conversation that we encourage you to have with us in tandem so we can create AI deployments which are fair, safe, secure, inclusive, and overall cover the responsible AI framework. And I like to give an understanding of what this responsible AI framework looks like by applying each principle to a use case that was covered earlier by Monty around customer service response agents. So starting off with fairness, that means that in that use case, the AI system should treat all customers equally and provide the same level of assistance and guidance for similar queries. In terms of reliability and safety, in this context, the reliability and safety refers to the AI systems being able to operate consistently and safely under normal and unexpected conditions. So essentially, the AI system should be able to handle large volumes of customer queries without compromising the accuracy or think about also the response time. In terms of privacy and security, this is a big one. I think this was touched up in the Q&A section. Monty answered that question really well, but I'll touch up on it right now as well. In terms of customer service response agents, should be collecting and processing sensitive customer data, such as personal details, purchase histories, and feedback. So think about, it's critical to ensure that the AI system that you're deploying protects that customer privacy and it secures their data against unauthorized access, misuse, or breaches. So overall, around privacy and security, in essence, the system should comply with data privacy regulations and guidelines and advanced encryption and authentication methods. And in terms of inclusion, that's all about designing with inclusive features. So think about, in this case, language barriers or even disabilities, and think also in language dialects, how the AI system should be able to understand certain dialects and respond to customer queries in different languages. And underpinning these principles are the principles of transparency and accountability. So in terms of transparency, that means that the AI system here should disclose to the customer when they are interacting with a chatbot and not a human. And in terms of accountability, we can think about those who are designing and deploying these AI systems in your organization must be accountable for how their systems operate. So in this case, think about accountability in the sense of developers being responsible for ensuring that the system's responses are accurate and that those responses are unbiased and don't violate any privacy or security regulations again. So you can help create that clarity across your organization by setting up these principles that we suggest that you work with us in tandem on. And putting these principles into practice means taking a human-centered approach to AI that spans across roles, processes, and functions. And you can use this supported by the tools and governance to help you build AI solutions grounded in trust. Trust being that very key point here. So ultimately, if there's one thing you should take away from the topic of responsible AI, is the fact that we have to ensure that AI-based technologies are designed and deployed in a manner that will ensure the trust of the people that are using them. So think about the people that are using them in your organization, and think about the individuals whose data is being collected. So trust, it really embodies the reason why responsible AI is so important. So that's the end of content. And I think next steps that we have for you here is to apply to the OpenAI service. If you haven't done so already, you can start with GPT-3 and then apply for GPT-4 if you find that there's a use case that you can use GPT-4 for. And you can find those links on the slide. You can click on them and it'll take you to those sign up pages. And also, let's take it's really good to take a moment to digest all this information that we just gave you. So we'll have this webinar available for you to watch and record it as well. But if you want more information, you can click on that link there. And lastly, if you want to start doing some ideation around potential applications of OpenAI on Azure, please have that conversation with us. I tell this to all my customers. We're super happy to help you overcome any challenges you may face around deciding what capabilities it can do, what are the limitations as well, discussing that, and also, of course, concerns around responsible AI. If you want some more resources around responsible AI, there's some really good ones there too. So I don't know if there's any more questions in the chat. Let's have a look.
I don't think there is, Tank, actually, so I'm conscious that we are 1 minute over as well. So I mean, in the interest of sort of keeping sort of respecting people's time, and if you are still there, if you haven't had to drop already, just a big thank you from our side for attending and for your interest. And if you do have questions, please, as Tank says, reach out through your Microsoft account team. We'd love to follow up with you with any specifics, but I think we probably should move just to a final thank you and close there.
Yes. So thank you everyone for joining as well. Hope to see a lot of you reach out to us. Thank you.
Thanks everyone.
Thank you everyone.